355.
355. Créativité. Podcast de Chanel.
Créativité.
Creativity.
Chanel à l'Opéra.
Chanel à l'Opéra.
355. Welcome to 355's Chanel at the Opera. I am Virginie Mouza, journalist and writer, and today I will be your host for the new podcast series. For the second year, the House of Chanel is the patron of the new season's gala opening night of the National Opera of Paris, celebrating its very strong relationship with the ballet world. Its founder, Gabrielle Chanel herself, was, in her time, a very active support of the Parisian avant-garde artistic scene. During these interviews, we are going to talk with some of the most brilliant creative people in the ballet and opera field: stage directors, choreographers, ballet dancers, opera singers. Together we'll speak about the Garnier Opera House, of course, but also with each of them about their relationship with their art, their creativity, their achievement.
Creativity.
First, let me describe where we are. We are in the Grand Foyer of Opéra de Paris. In Paris, we say the Opéra Garnier. The ceiling is probably 20 meters high. This is the epitome of the Napoleon III decoration style, with gilded bronze and sculptures all over this huge space. It's quite impressive. Let me tell you about my guest. She's one of the most brilliant opera singers. She mastered the bel canto before being called a diva after she sung Rossini. This season, she has the title role of the absolute dream of every opera singer, La Traviata, directed by Simon Stone. Bonjour, Miss Pretty Yende.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be talking to you.
My first question is very simple. How does it feel for an opera singer to sing La Traviata?
I think it's a host of emotions. First, it's like a roller coaster ride. It's a dream come true, obviously, because for me, it's been on my bucket list. And ever since I started my journey, I've always looked up to this point where I would one day sing probably Violetta somewhere. And it just happened to be the perfect of circumstances where I'm singing it in the actual city where it happened, in this glorious and historic opera house. Of course, aside from that, you have all the preparation that had to go through, preparing the role, preparing myself psychologically, emotionally, and vocally.
Is it more difficult than another opera?
Absolutely, because each opera has its own hurdles, if I may say, because each composer asks different things, and that's what makes them unique from the other. And you only have one vocal instrument, and you work on your technique to make sure that you in some way always able to give justice to what the composer asks. And of course, for me, Violetta is my first Verdi role, and so it's completely different to the repertoire that I was doing before. So in a sense, it required much more preparation in terms of understanding my vocal ability, how it reacts with Verdi, and luckily I had some people to help me prepare for it.
But you've been asked before to sing La Traviata. You refused 5 times. Why?
More than 5 times, basically, because I think it's a special role for me. I love it very, very much, and I believe that it's one of those roles that I will carry with me longer in my career. But also I understood the challenge of it. It's one of the most difficult Verdi roles, or difficult soprano roles in the repertoire. And as a young singer, because I am still a young singer, even though I've had this incredible career, I need to tread carefully because I have to protect my instrument and not do roles that are too big too soon, or wait too long where I'm not as spontaneous as I am right now. So it felt like this time was a perfect time to be able to really take those first steps into this wonderful role.
So we spoke about the role, now we are going to speak about the character. How would you describe Violetta?
Well, she's one of the most incredible women in history, actually, that in her time, even though it was at that time, she really defined what independent woman means, living by her rules and defining that she wants to live her life the way she chose to live her life. But more than that, she oozes freshness, even with the shortness of her life. She oozed grace elegance, and she was strong woman. And so all of these incredible attributes that are humanly wonderful, it's something that I truly admire, from her.
Simon Stone, the director, turned Violetta into a 21st century influencer, a darling of the social networks, earning a living selling her image.
Right.
Do you recognize yourself in this?
Yes and no, because for me, how I use my platform is quite different to how the character uses her platform. I don't use it to promote myself. I'm very fortunate that I use it to connect with my audience. I get to meet incredible people who follow my pretty journey. I call them the pretty army. People that get inspired from reading my posts. It's a platform that truly was an encouragement for me at the beginning when I transited from South Africa to Milan, where I needed something that would inspire me, encourage me. And so I started sharing my quotes on my social networks, and people wrote to me and said, you have no idea, I was going through something difficult, and because of your quote, I'm able to do that now, So it became completely, in a sense, a healthier way of how I use the platform, and basically to connect.
But Violetta in the opera, can we say she could be like the new Kim Kardashian?
I absolutely believe so. Because her extravagant life and the way she's portrayed in the opera, she is that kind of iconic public figure. Where she is, the whole town just comes to a complete stop. She oozes charm. She's beautiful. She's everything, that image-wise you'd look up to, I guess, when you're a young girl.
So Violetta is a star of internet, let's put it like this, but she is, before everything, a typical Parisian.
Absolutely.
What is your relationship with Paris?
Oh, I love this city. I mean, it's been incredible because ever since the very first time I came to this city, I felt home.
When was that?
That was before I actually made my debut in Bastille, in the Barbiere di Siviglia. I had a recital before. Actually, I won a competition before. That was the very first thing that brought me to Paris. I was still a student at the Accademia Fla Scala, and I got invited to take part in the Bellini Bel Canto competition, which was in Puto.
Oh, right. Which is not Paris,
which
actually.
Which is not Paris, and that's where Bellini, hanged out. And so that was my very first thing that brought me in Paris. And then when I got to the city itself, I fell in love with it. I mean, and basically it's also the language, I guess, and the connection that was incredibly surprising for me from the very first time I came to Paris with the audience. I mean, it's been truly wonderful, and I'm very pleased to be part of such a wonderful experience in Paris.
Do you think the Parisian women are pretty?
Absolutely. They are jolie.
Okay, let's speak now to diversity. I would love to speak about that with you, because opera and diversity doesn't work really well so far. But maybe because of you, maybe because of who you are, it gives to this topic a stronger voice. What do you think?
I believe that it's been tough to have diversity and more inclusion in any genre or art form, actually, as a human race. But I believe that opera is trying really to break those barriers, because if you look at the roles that I've done, on roles that I was entrusted with, it's truly remarkable that, opera houses were open to look beyond the color of my skin and believed in my gift. And in that sense, when then people look at me and they say, if she can do it, that means I can too. And so I didn't feel like I was taking a responsibility of trying to break any barriers. My quest has always been to be part of this magical world and how to make such incredible impact to people. And so to be able to be part of something much more than that unintentionally, it's something that I honor very much. And I hope that in one way or the other, I am contributing to change.
So you think it will probably open more gates to black singers?
I absolutely think so. And not only black singers, but anybody who has a gift. Because gifts come in all shapes and sizes and colors. And so the world is so huge, we're so rich, and it doesn't only come with one color.
Speaking of this, recently You introduced some Zulu references in a Donizetti opera, right?
Yes.
What was the reaction?
It was a surprise. It was a complete surprise, and mainly for my audience in New York. They were not sure they were hearing Zulu. And from home, everyone was like, oh my God, how did you get to that? And it was pure improvisation because of the way the production was structured. It was quite free in terms of improvisation, and I had that part of the opera where I don't have actually a script, and so I had to make something up. And so I thought in one rehearsal I just spoke Zulu, and the director liked it, and that's how it was, how it all started.
Speaking of improvisation, you were saying that last night there was a technical problem in the La Traviata show, right? And you had to improvise. How did it happen?
So in the third act, we have the Revolve on stage, where we have the LED, which has the images of, has the images of the life of the show, even beyond what Verdi wrote and what we know about the story. And so each time it revolves. And yesterday it didn't turn to the right position. And that was right before my aria in the third act. I heard this big noise. I was shaken. And then I wasn't sure whether to go on or not go on. I looked on the sides and everybody was panicking. And I looked at Maestro, and Maestro was going forward. And I said, okay, I'm going to come nearer to the maestro, because it was quite loud, so it was very hard to hear where I was also pitch-wise. And so we continued. And in that moment, I had to make the scene mean something even without the actual staging. And so I had to follow the music, I had to listen her emotion, and I was able to make a scene that I had never done before. I didn't plan it. So it was truly just following the music. And so it was quite shocking for me because, what do you do? I wasn't sure whether to stop or to go on. And when we stop, will the problem be fixed or whatever? And so it was quite shocking. And I was glad that I have experience from South Africa about how you work on the character, and I love acting. And so most of what I do on stage is never truly the same every time. So it grows and it's in the moment. And so yesterday I was asked to be in the moment and follow the truth. And the audience, some people didn't realize something was wrong. And so it was quite, encouraging that people didn't realize that I was going through something very difficult. That was like a make or break, because the show would have stopped. And I continued.
Fantastic. Only you could make it.
Most of us did, actually, because from then onwards, the entire act was not what we had planned. And so we had to really make a new show. And luckily, with my colleagues, there were moments where we would actually ask each other, what do you do? And I would say, I don't know. And they would suggest, let's just stay here and finish this act and then go. It was quite shaken, but equally exciting. Live theater.
Going back to your career and your background, you're South African, you grew up during the apartheid. What memories do you keep from this period?
I don't have them. I was very fortunate that I come from a small town, and in small towns we were not so exposed to what was happening in the big cities. And this I have to thank my parents, because my parents really tried to make sure that they protected me from all the things that were so wrong in the world, and taught me that I was not different from the next person. So I completely had no idea what was happening in the world. And I have to thank them for that, because it prepared me for the life that I'm having now. Because as a global citizen, you are always sometimes the one odd out, and you have to always feel human. And so I'm glad that I didn't know about it so much.
Is there any opera or song that speaks about that and that you would love to sing?
Not really, but my journey as a singer started with my grandmother teaching me songs. And that's one of the memories that I truly go to every time, because music has been a great part of my upbringing. And she would teach me this song every time when we go to church. And I remember it very well. And it's something like, hlengiwe limnandi lelizwi, hlengiwe ngekazi lemvana, hlengiwe nomusa nothando, limnandi limnandi ingcwele, hlengiwe 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 ngekazi lemvana, hlengiwe 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 sengaba umntwana. I haven't warmed up and I sang yesterday, but this is a memory that truly I always hold dear with me, because that's where the seed of music was sown into my heart. And those grandmothers, when they heard me sing at 5 years old, they prophesied that one day you're going to be singing this. You might be singing with us in this small box, but one day you're going to be singing for millions of people. And I didn't know what it meant then, but now I'm grateful.
You do.
Now I do. I'm grateful for that moment.
And were you open at all to any classical European repertory by then in your family?
Nothing at all. Until 2001, when I actually heard the British Airways advert, I had no idea about classical music.
Can you speak about that?
And,
it was a revelation.
It was an absolute revelation for me, because I was already singing at home and accustomed to all types of music. And I watched movies, but I don't recall listening to this classical sound.
So what happened?
I think it was truly the power of the human voice. Hearing those two voices like that.
So let's say again what it was. It was an advertising?
It was the British Airways advert. I was home in 2001 and we were watching TV, and there was this ad on TV and they used the Lakme duet, and that flower duet for me was what introduced me to opera. And at the time, I had no idea it was humanly possible. So I went to my high school teacher the following day and I said, I heard something like this. What is it? And he said, it's called opera. And I said to him, is it humanly possible? And he said, of course it's humanly possible. And I actually demanded him to teach me, because in a sense, I knew that if my grandmother taught me how to sing, if somebody would teach me this too, I can do. That's how determined and sure I was as a young person then. And look at me now.
Speaking about your grandmother, we're speaking about transmission. Are you thinking, or maybe you're doing it already, of teaching to younger students in opera?
Teaching in a different way, in a human way, maybe not so much formal vocal teaching, but I believe my story is a book where people can see it as an inspiration in their lives too, that no dream is impossible. I fail in front of everybody and I try again and I never stop. My growth has been basically on the global stage. And I had to have the courage to accept that I will never be in a safe place to do something difficult. And in that, I have to remind myself that I'm not only doing it for me, somebody somewhere is seeing that as an inspiration for their lives too. So hopefully in the future, when I feel ready enough, I'll be able to share some information technically about vocal technique and stuff like that.
And can we say that, because I know you love Nina Simone and Ella Fitzgerald, are they masters for you?
Everybody's a master for me. My mother, my grandmother was the first idol, and everybody who... It's truly amazing that we human beings are so unique in our own way, and we are just here to kindle one another and learn from one another. And I learn from the greatest people who are gifted and from the least gifted, because in him or her, I'm there, and they too are in me, in a sense. So it's truly
I know you're
limitless.
I know you're a prayer. You pray a lot. You say your voice is a gift of God.
Absolutely.
Does beauty have something to do with God?
Everything. Everything, because it's truly, life itself is a gift. It's unfortunate that we realize when things go wrong that life is a gift. Just being able to breathe without problems, just being able to blink without feeling pain, or walking without, it's a gift. It's not by chance.
Are you tempted to sing something closer to black culture, like gospel or jazz?
I used to because I was singing gospel in church. But then when I started vocal technique, it sort of took me away from that kind of singing because it's a different technique. So I couldn't do both. And so my dream of having both careers sort of never happened. So I concentrated on operatic singing.
But maybe one day you'll go back to gospel, like professionally, or jazz?
No, not really. No. I'm dedicating my life to this because my instrument says it's possible for this path. And I look forward to the growth of it more than anything until I say, okay, it's enough now. I want to start another life.
Because we're here at the opera, I have to ask you, when was the last time you danced?
Actually, I danced yesterday. Somehow the second performance went much better than the premiere because I guess the tension of the actual giving birth of the first show was quite daunting. But the second show, I was much more relaxed and I find myself really dancing now and again.
Good. Are you daydreaming on music?
Sometimes, not always. Sometimes.
What is the hero, real or imaginary, you'd love to meet?
Actually, I would be so pleased to have met Maria Callas because she has been one of my greatest inspiration as far as what it means to be a performer and to tell a story without moving anything but with your voice. She's one of many of my greatest admirers, and so it would have been wonderful to see her work and be inspired by her physically and literally.
What would you tell her?
I would ask her, how does she just believe that choices that she makes artistically will touch people? I guess there's no answer to that.
When you see such a career like the one of Maria Callas, for you, what is the biggest achievement still to accomplish?
Growth, because I would like to think that the whole journey, Pretty Journey hashtag, was inspired by learning and discovery. And I haven't stopped learning, and I look forward to the growth and the continuation of learning and discovering new things about my voice as I grow too as a human being.
What is the current state of mind, your current state of mind? What is it?
Peace.
Peace
and gratitude, because this debut was supposed to be the most stressful of my debuts yet. And yet, surprisingly, it has been the most inspiring. And this is due to the incredible colleagues that I got to work with and Simon Stone's incredible energy each and every rehearsal. The freedom just not to be afraid to try and feeling like nothing you can do is wrong. And so in a sense, it made my debut for Violetta that more reachable. You know, I didn't have to envision someone else. I just had to, he allowed me to have courage to look inside me and feel what I feel about her rather than waiting for him to tell me that this is the route. You know, it's been truly inspiring. I'm very grateful.
I've heard that you were speaking a little bit of French.
Oui, juste un petit peu.
Could we say goodbye in French? Au revoir.
Au revoir. I was thinking of something else.
Thank you so much, Pretty Yende. Thank you.
Merci à vous. Merci bien.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Creativity.